Puka Nacua, mentioned him earlier. He's having one of the great seasons for a rookie receiver that any have ever had. There was an item last night from NFL Research. Nacua is the first receiver in the Super Bowl era with 4 150-yard-plus receiving games. More than Jamar Chase, who had 3, more than Randy Moss, who had 4. He's got more receiving yards now than Randy Moss had in all of 1998. Now, Moss had 17 touchdowns, which was one of the reasons why he was so spectacular. But more receiving yards, grinding it out and grinding it out. He's got 6 100-yard receiving games, Nacua does. Only Odell Beckham and Justin Jefferson had more. 7 in a rookie season in the Super Bowl era. And Nacua's got 2 more games to tie and or pass. He's incredible. The catches he makes, the things he does. He's 6'2". They kept mentioning that last night. And it's important because it adds to his arsenal. He's big. He's fast. He's strong. He's a great kid. I talked to him after one of those games they won earlier in the year. It's a fun story to see a guy who was beating the odds, a guy who was great. They criticized this moment last night because you can't just hit him. You've got to wrap him up. That was that jet sweep that iced the game. Incredible what he's doing. He ended up with 180 yards from scrimmage last night. He had 16 rushing, including that game-clinching first down. Great to see what he's done. And here he is. He's got it. I mean, come on. Bill Groman, 1960. I think, should that be the Oilers? That should be the Oilers, not the Texans.
Yeah, definitely wasn't the
I guess it should be the Titans then. Definitely wasn't the Texans in 1960. I wasn't alive then, but I can tell you, Texans weren't around then unless it was, no, it wasn't, unless it was the Dallas Texans. Maybe it was, is it possible it was the Dallas Texans in 1960, Charean? It quite possibly was.
Could be. Yeah. That would be my guess. It was the Dallas
Which are now
Texans.
the Chiefs, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Puka Nacua is playing great. He's playing great. And 2 things, you mentioned the end around. That, to me, was the key play of the game because it was 2nd and 5 right there. He picked up the first down, kept the clock running. So they snapped the ball at 3:09. The next snap was at 2:21. That allowed them basically to run off. Of course, they got the offsides on Cam Jordan there a little bit later. But that, to me, was the key play there in that drive that allowed them to run out the clock. And then he recovered the onside kick, by the way, before that, to put that thing away. So he is just doing everything right now for the Rams. And I know you wrote about this, about his chances for Rookie of the Year. And I'll say it, is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. But if C.J. Stroud doesn't play again in December, I think Puka Nacua is probably going to win Rookie of the Year over C.J. Stroud. He'll probably be number 1 on my ballot with C.J. Stroud number 2.
The odds have changed, even overnight. C.J. Stroud has dipped from minus 4,000 to minus 2,500. I don't know why Puka Nacua's odds have gone from plus 750 to plus 800 overnight because I couldn't find a corresponding drop from any of the other candidates you see there as the potential offensive Rookie of the Year winners. It's going to be Stroud or Nacua, I believe. My son is big on Sam Laporta. No tight end has ever won that, but he's behind his own teammate, Jahmyr Gibbs. You're going to have a situation where you're going to split votes between the 2 Lions players potentially if it comes down to it. I think the door's open for Nacua, and you're right. We talked about this yesterday. If Stroud doesn't play again this year, does Nacua take it from him? And Pete Demolitis told us yesterday that the odds for Stroud as of yesterday were minus 10,000. So we've seen dramatic change in a day in the offensive Rookie of the Year odds because Stroud likely to miss another game this weekend with the concussion he suffered against the Jets and maybe some lingering effects of an undiagnosed potentially concussion against the Broncos. Light sensitivity reportedly. We may not see him again this regular season. That makes it not more likely, less unlikely that Nacua will have a chance. It's still an uphill climb because Stroud was so cemented as the offensive Rookie of the Year, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible, especially when you have primetime game like we saw last night, Nacua with a great performance, impactful, meaningful, not just padded stats, big plays in big moments to deliver a win for the Rams. Here's Sean McVay, coach of the Rams, on whether Nacua has indeed solidified himself as this year's offensive Rookie of the Year.
He's outstanding. You know, I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for the contributions. And, I mean, what a freaking run on the jet sweep. Has a bunch of plays through the pass game. You guys have seen it week in and week out. You know, you talk about that balance. You can't have the balance if you don't have receivers that are willing to dig out support and do some of the things that he does. You know, you see around the league, you know, Stroud's had a great year, but this guy is – he would get my vote. And, you know, he's really special. But the best part about him is he doesn't worry about those things. He worries about, you know, just being a great teammate, continuing to improve his game. And sure love this team. And he's one of those guys that you really love.
As I said earlier this week when Kevin Stefanski was making the case for Myles Garrett as Defensive Player of the Year, it's only newsworthy if the coach of the guy who's the candidate says he'd vote for the other guy. Right? If Sean McVay said, yeah, you know, this is great, but C.J. Stroud is the Offensive Rookie of the Year if I had a vote. So he's supporting his guy, but it's not hard. It's not like you have to twist logic and defy common sense to make a case for Puka Nacua. He is a difference maker, and he's proven that he's one of the best players in the NFL at any position in 1 year. Amazing. Last pick in round 5, 20th receiver taken, what he's done. And it makes you wonder what these other folks were thinking as the picks were going by. That's how good he's been. And I don't know that he'd been this good with anybody else. But, you know, that's one of the things I have a hard time reconciling. Receiver is kind of morphing into running back, where you can find, if you're doing your job right, you can find great receivers in the later rounds of the draft. So why use a first-round pick on a receiver? If you have the right eye, the right touch, the right assessment, the right analysis, and you find the right guy, because they're out there. There's so many guys out there who can catch passes, run routes, do all the things necessary. It all goes back. And I remember a few years ago, it's like, where are all these great receivers coming from? They're coming from the fact that there's 7-on-7 camps everywhere now. Yeah. These quarterbacks throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing, someone's got to catch those passes. And it's helping the receivers develop to the point where they can come to the NFL and make an immediate impact. And a guy like Puka Nacua, Charean, I really think will cause some of these teams to ask themselves, do we really need to take a receiver in round 1? Can we wait and maybe get one of these guys that we think has something, we see something that maybe translates well to the NFL? And Nacua is proof that, just like with running backs, maybe you don't need to use a first-round pick on one.
Unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs, and I suggest using one on the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round. Every round. Find one. You just need one guy there. But, yeah, you're right, Mike. I said that it has become like the running back position. You can find receivers after the first round who are really good, and Puka Nacua is an example of that. I mean, just to step in. Remember back when it was such a big deal when Randy Moss had such a great rookie season, because rookies didn't have great seasons as rookies when they were receivers. I mean, they just had to learn the game. And Randy Moss comes in and took the NFL by storm, and we were saying, oh, my gosh, a rookie receiver has never done this. It's outstanding. Well, now in college, you're right. They started in high school with the 7-on-7s, and then in college, it's a whole entire passing game. So they know the whole route tree, most of them, when they come in, and they're able to step right in and play. So we're not surprised anymore when rookie receivers come in and step right in and play like veteran receivers, because they have the experience. They have the experience in high school. They have the, and there's the correct graphic. It was the Oilers, Mike, Bill Groman.
Now, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Now, we're going to have to, we're going to have to write a check to the Titans now, because we know they'll sue over misappropriation of the Oilers logo. The University of Houston found out the hard way. Cease and desist.
But what he's doing, Mike, has just been outstanding. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised, is my whole point, because guys are coming in and able to do this no matter where they're drafted, no matter where they played in college, just the way the passing game has developed at the high school level, at the college level. They can come in and do this, and they can come in and do this even if they weren't a first or second or third or fourth round pick.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.